Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. It's Canisha. If you're new around here, my name is Canisha and I create video content on career, lifestyle and just about everything in between. So if you like the sound of that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. Now in today's video, I'm coming to you candidly and talking about being in a rut and how to get out of one. As someone who has kind of found myself in a rut for the last few weeks to going on to month now, I realised that this isn't a place that I wanted to stay in and that I really wanted to make the actual effort into getting myself out of this place and doing the things that I love doing. So the first step that was important for me to realise was that I was in a rut. I think most of the times you don't realise you're in that space, or you do. You slowly find that you're not doing the things that you love to do, your routines are not looking the same anymore, and you're just kind of going through the motions of life, which is okay. But for me, I just realised that I wanted to do more things that I loved doing, I wanted a routine, and I wanted to make steps to improve my life. So the first thing was identifying that I was in a rut, and the second thing that came from that was goal setting. So where I'd sort of fallen short in the past, especially when it came to routines or to do the things that I enjoyed and kind of make sure that became the routine, was I set myself too much of a general goal. So sometimes that was the thing of I'm going to read a book this week, or I'm going to exercise tomorrow. These were goals in the fact that I identified what I wanted to do, but they were just too general in that how much is reading the book, how long I'm going to spend reading the book, how many pages I'm going to read, or exercise. What kind of exercise do I want to do? What's my sort of specific and attainable goal associated with that? So rather than being more generalist, I started getting more specific in what those goals were. So when it came to reading a book, rather than reading just a book, I would set myself a goal of reading 15 pages of a book. And most of the times I tend to find that when I started reading those 15 pages, I was midway through a chapter and it didn't feel right for me to end it. So I ended up reading way more pages than I set my goal. But it felt a lot easier to go into reading the book knowing that that was just my limit. And when it came to exercise, rather than just saying I'm going to exercise tomorrow, I've just set myself the goal of I'm going to spend 10 minutes outside walking around my area, and you never know, you might end up walking further and spend more time doing that. So I've just found be more specific with your goals rather than be general will really help you to A, push yourself to doing the activity, but also B, to doing it a little bit longer. An additional thing to helping you with those specific goals is to make it easy for yourself. So whether that's putting your gym outfit next to your bed or putting the book next to your bed, you want to make these things something that you can see and be reminded that that's something that you want to get out of the day. Another thing that I noticed when I am in a bit of a rut is that my space in my room really becomes a reflection of what my mind is thinking. So when I wake up in a space that's really untidy, I tend to feel like, wow, everything else was cluttered. And if it's been that way for a while, then I really know inside that things are not feeling as best as they could, or I'm just not in a good space for that. So what I found is by making sure my room is clean or in a place where I feel like, okay, it's clear, I can get to what I need to get to, I can see my floor, I can do this, and I start to feel a little bit more fresher, ready to tackle the day and to get things done. So one of my favourite things to do is to set a timer for 20 minutes, and this is like a challenge to myself to sort of beat the timer, get the room cleaned, and also good music in the background helps to get in the flow. So if you're finding that you have a task that does feel really daunting, then just set yourself a 20-minute deadline and you'll find you either do it within that time or you don't mind doing it a little bit longer. Another thing about being in the rut is that I found waking up the hardest. I just didn't want to get out of bed. I don't know if it's maybe because winter is here and you know it's a lot darker, grayer, colder, but all of that just made me want to stay in my bed, be warm and just have extra time there. So getting out of the rut, it was important for me to sort of just start my days a little bit earlier and to make it easy on myself to just like get out of bed. So rather than going in with the heavy like I'm gonna wake up at 6 a.m. or I'm just gonna wake up at 7 a.m. if that's not been what I've been doing, I would work backwards and so, sort of say like if I usually wake up much later, my first goal would be wake up at 8, next day I'll try aim for 7:45, the next day I'll aim for 7:30, so forth, all the way down to 7 a.m. And for me, that kind of just felt like I was easing myself into waking up earlier rather than just jumping in the deep end and just like expecting myself to be up at the crack of dawn. Like for me, that's really helped just to prepare my mind, because for a lot of things like creating a routine or getting out of a rut or just being more productive, we tend to jump in to the deep end and think that we're going to do 7 different behavioral changes like reading books, exercising more often, waking up at the crack of dawn, eating healthy, that we could all just start doing it the next day. But if you just try to ease yourself into it, introducing each of those elements on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, then it definitely starts to feel a lot more achievable and something within reach. Another thing that I found really helpful, which can sometimes feel a bit counterintuitive, because when you're in a rut, you just want to get out as fast as possible and get back to being like your old self, to say the least. I've actually found the opposite works for me. So when I'm in a rut, I first acknowledge that that's where I'm at, or I'm, you know, feeling like I'm in a funk, and I sort of try to give myself a grace period to feel what I'm feeling, and then trust that I will feel differently in a matter of hours, days, or weeks, and then just sort of ride it out. So this kind of came from Beyonce once upon a time talked about how she only gave herself a certain amount of hours or time in order to feel a type of way before just saying like, you've had your sad time, now you move on to the next thing. I do my inner Beyonce, and if I'm in a funk or a rut, I say you've got a day to feel this way, or you've got a week to feel this way, but after that time is done, you have to do your most effort to transition out of this phase. And then I feel like when you're in that rut and funk space and ride through it, you kind of actually start to acknowledge that what is it that's making you feel this way, or just note down your feelings and thoughts in general so that you can sort of take them from out of being your head to something that you can see and start to understand or unpack. I think that one has sort of helped me the most, was sort of putting a timeline on how long I'd feel the way that I'd feel and the grace period that I'd allow myself. And then I'd sort of just really push myself to, after that time is done, work on getting out of it. I just thought I'd share these tips as they've kind of been really helpful for me in the last few days that I've been doing it in terms of getting out of a funk. And I'm gonna make sure that I keep implementing this. I might even do sort of like a progress update in a week or a month, just to sort of say how those actions have helped me to start to feel like a better version of myself, and if there's anything else that I've learned whilst experiencing that. But yeah, I'd end on a note of saying like, it's completely normal, it happens. Sometimes it's a burnout from work, sometimes it's triggered by other things. There's a lot of things that can cause you to feel in this way, and you're well justified in feeling the way that you're feeling, and that is okay. And if you want to transition out of that place, then do what works for you, because what might work for me might not work for you, and that's okay. You just got to figure out what is your thing. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in my next video.